Deep within the infernal plains of Phlegethos, a realm of fire and torment, a seed sprouted. This was no ordinary seed. It pulsed with a malevolent energy, a dark promise of things to come. Bathed in the fiery glow of the river Phlegethon, it burrowed deep into the scorched earth. This was the genesis of Vine, the Hell King. No one knew whence it came. Some whispered of a fallen angel's tear, others of a deal struck with ancient forgotten gods. Its origins remained shrouded in mystery, adding to the growing unease surrounding the seed. From this seed, a terror would bloom, a force that would forever alter the landscape of hell. The seed grew with an unnatural speed, fueled by the infernal energy of Phlegethos. It burst from the ground, a monstrous sprout of thorny vines and razor-sharp leaves. Its growth was an unstoppable force of nature, ripping and tearing through the landscape. This was no mere plant, this was a demon, a being of pure primal power. With each passing day, the demon grew stronger, its form becoming more defined. It towered over the fiery plains, a grotesque mockery of life, its limbs thick gnarled branches tipped with vicious thorns. Its eyes, two burning embers nestled amongst the leaves, watched over its domain with cold, calculating intensity. Vine had arrived. Vine's power was absolute, terrifying in its raw brutality. His dominion over the dark forest was unchallenged, a testament to his fearsome abilities. The twisted trees and overgrown vegetation seemed to bow to his will, creating an eerie landscape that mirrored his dark soul. He could command the very plants of hell, twisting and shaping them to his will. The infernal garden he cultivated was a nightmarish realm where twisted plants and animated vegetation thrived under his dark influence. Each plant, each vine was an extension of his malevolent will, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Thorny vines, harder than any steel, shot forth at his command, ensnaring his enemies with bone-crushing force. These dark tendrils, emerging from the very ground, were not just weapons, but instruments of his wrath. They wrapped around objects and beings alike, their sharp, menacing thorns a constant reminder of Vine's unyielding power. Poisonous spores erupted from his body, choking the air and melting the flesh from the bones of any creature unfortunate enough to inhale them. This toxic miasma, a byproduct of his dark essence, spread through the shadowy environment, creating a deadly cloud that left no room for escape. The noxious fumes were a testament to his lethal nature, a silent but deadly weapon in his arsenal. But Vine's most fearsome weapon was his mind. His glowing eyes, piercing through the darkness, reflected a cunning intellect that was as sharp as his thorns. In the shadowy environment, his menacing silhouette was a constant reminder of the danger he posed, not just physically, but mentally as well. He possessed an intellect as sharp as his thorns, a cunning that belied his monstrous form. His intense eyes, always calculating, always analyzing, were windows to a mind that was constantly plotting. His dark and cunning expression was a mask that hid his true intentions, making him an unpredictable and dangerous adversary. He could sense the weaknesses of his opponents, exploiting their fears and insecurities to devastating effect. His ability to observe and study his prey, to analyze their every move, made him a formidable foe. The intense gaze with which he scrutinized his surroundings was enough to unsettle even the bravest of souls. He was a master manipulator, weaving webs of deceit and treachery that ensnared even the most wary of demons. His sinister plots, like strings and puppets, controlled the fates of those around him. In the shadowy depths of his domain, he orchestrated a symphony of chaos, each move calculated to bring about the downfall of his enemies. His mastery of manipulation was unparalleled, making him a true king in a realm of darkness. The Rooted Tyrant's reign. Vine's rise to power was swift and brutal. He united the fractured demon hordes of Phlegethos under his banner, his power and ruthlessness silencing any dissent. He led his armies in a series of bloody conquests, crushing any demon lord who dared oppose him. His reign of terror spread like wildfire, his name whispered with fear and awe throughout the infernal realms. His throne, a grotesque monument of twisted roots and thorns, was built upon a mountain of bones, a testament to his merciless nature. He ruled his domain with an iron fist, brooking no opposition. Vine was the undisputed king of Phlegethos, his will absolute, his power unquestioned. a mind of thorns and deceit. Vine was a being of pure, unadulterated ambition. From the moment he first drew breath, his eyes were set on a singular goal: to rise above all others and claim dominion over everything he surveyed. His ambition was not born of a desire for wealth or fame, but of a deep-seated need to control and dominate. He craved power above all else, and his every action was geared towards increasing his dominion. No obstacle was too great, no sacrifice too dear. He would stop at nothing to see his vision realized, even if it meant walking a path of darkness and destruction. He was utterly ruthless in his pursuit, sacrificing anything and anyone to achieve his goals. Friends, family, allies, all were expendable in his relentless quest for power. His path was littered with the broken bodies of those who had dared to stand in his way. His heart, if he could be said to possess such a thing, was a cold, calculating organ devoid of empathy or compassion. His cunning was legendary. He could read people like open books, exploiting their weaknesses and fears to bend them to his will. His mind was a labyrinth of dark thoughts and sinister plans. He could weave intricate plots with ease, playing his enemies against each other like pawns on a chessboard. Each move was meticulously planned, each step carefully calculated. He was a master strategist, always several steps ahead of his adversaries. He delighted in manipulation, savoring the moment his victims realized the true extent of his machinations. The look of horror and betrayal in their eyes was a source of great satisfaction to him. It was in these moments that he felt truly alive, reveling in the chaos he had wrought. He was a master of deceit, his words as sharp and deadly as his thorns. He could twist the truth with ease, turning allies into enemies and sowing discord wherever he went. His tongue was a weapon as lethal as any blade, and he wielded it with deadly precision. Prophecy's shadow. Despite his immense power, Vine was not invincible. His reign over the Dark Realms was absolute, but it was not without its challenges. He had built his empire on fear and domination, crushing any who dared oppose him. A prophecy, whispered in hushed tones amongst the denizens of hell, spoke of his downfall. These whispers, though quiet, carried the weight of inevitability. The prophecy was a beacon of hope for those who suffered under Vine's rule. It foretold of a being of light, pure and incorruptible, who would rise to challenge Vine's reign. This being, unlike any other, would possess a strength born not of darkness, but of an unyielding light. This being, it was said, possessed the power to cleanse even the most corrupted soul, and would ultimately bring about the Rooted Tyrant's demise. The light would pierce through the shadows, revealing the truth and dispelling the lies that Vine had woven. Vine scoffed at the prophecy, dismissing it as the ramblings of fools. He believed his power to be unassailable, his dominion eternal. To him, the idea of a single being overthrowing his empire was laughable. He had faced countless enemies in his long reign, and none had been able to stand against him. Each challenger had fallen, their hopes and dreams crushed beneath his iron fist. His victories were numerous, his confidence unshakable. Yet deep down a seed of doubt remained. It was a small, almost imperceptible crack in his otherwise impenetrable armor. This doubt, though tiny, was persistent. The prophecy gnawed at the edges of his mind, a persistent irritant that he couldn't quite ignore. It was a shadow that loomed over his thoughts, a constant reminder that even the mightiest could fall. And so, Vine's reign continued, but with a new, unsettling awareness of his own vulnerability. The Green Terror's ambition. Vine's ambitions were not limited to Phlegethos. He dreamed of conquering all of hell, of bending every demon lord to his will. He envisioned a hell united under his banner, a force of unimaginable power that would one day break free from its infernal prison and unleash its fury upon the mortal realm. He continued to amass his power, forging alliances with other demon lords, corrupting ancient artifacts and bolstering his armies. Every victory brought him one step closer to his ultimate goal, and so the threat of Vine loomed large over hell, a green terror that cast a long, ominous shadow across the infernal realms.